Episode 637. While Lord Grimm tangled with deception, the three major guilds finally snapped out of it. They reported up the chain, and their superiors were thrilled. Why had the major guilds been dragging their feet about making a move on Yishu's Lord Grimm? It's because he's too famous. Going after him would draw too much attention. Guilds had to mind their image. If they wanted to hunt someone down, they needed a reason the public could accept. For a public figure like Lord Grimm, that was even more important. And now this person had struck, killing the leaders of two guilds and sparking chaos. That alone was barely enough to make use of. And when they saw Lord Grimm together with Deception, they were even more thrilled. Deception was something of a celebrity, an infamous one at that. Every single person whose gear he'd ever looted was just waiting for him to die. The major guilds had all tried to recruit Deception at first. After all, anyone could see that Deception was a top-tier player too. One of the main missions of a club guild in online games was to discover experts, recruit them, and then funnel them back to the club. As it turned out, Deception was always vanishing into thin air, with his friend requests turned off. On the rare occasions they did run into him, getting away without having their gear looted was already considered lucky, let alone trying to negotiate. In the end, they wore down every major club and guild until those organizations had no choice but to prepare for both possibilities. When there's an event, you have to watch out for him scavenging. When there's an opportunity, you still have to try and cozy up to him. But so far, anyone who tried to get close is said to have ended up dead. Of course, the major guilds would never admit to that. Having your warm face pressed against someone else's cold backside, admitting to that would be far too embarrassing. At that moment, seeing Deception and Lord Grimm running over together, the core guild members who were privy to the guild's inner affairs had a sudden epiphany. This is a trap. Lord Grimm stirred up chaos, while Deception swooped in to scavenge. Those two were working together.
Kill, 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 kill.
Kill, kill, kill.
With that shout, the three guilds' assembled forces surged forward, their numbers still growing. The chance to hunt Lord Grimm had finally arrived, and it was a chance anyone could share, courtesy of Deception. After they quickly reported this situation, the heads of the major guilds made their decision. Whether it's true or not, we're pinning it on him.
Record them. Get both of them on tape.
The order had already been passed down.
Run.
Seeing this, Yishu quickly turned his view to call out to Deception. When he looked back, Deception had already put several body lengths between them.
No sense of loyalty, didn't even call out before running off.
Yishu cursed as he ran. Deception, who was running ahead, visibly faltered in his steps at the curse. He was already running on his own. If you hadn't been so stubborn about chasing him, I'd have been long gone by now.
Don't let them disengage.
The veteran players of the major guilds knew the drill. Once they disengaged from combat, they could log out. Technology's advanced these days. Logging out is quick and clean. Don't count on your character just standing there waiting to be killed. Unless you force quit the game mid-combat, then your character will just stand there, easy pickings for 8 kills over. At the command, the ranged classes unleashed a torrent of magical artillery. Even though none of them seemed to land, entering combat state isn't determined by whether damage is dealt. The system handles that judgment on its own. Yishu's Lord Grimm and Deception had been fighting for ages now. They were already in combat mode, no way to back out even if they wanted to. Seeing the major guilds still being so cautious, he figured it would take some effort to shake them off. Chen Guo was just as tense. The moment she heard Yishu's signal, she fired her cannon and bolted. After running for a bit, she realized she hadn't even entered combat mode. Those guild guys only had eyes for Lord Grimm and Deception. To them, she was just background noise. Chen Guo was furious. Seeing that no one was still paying her any attention, she went ahead and charged up a big move. The three guilds were far too absorbed, all eyes on Lord Grimm and Deception, some busy attacking, others busy recording. Suddenly, A flash of light caught their eyes. The seasoned players paled, snapping their heads up to see a launcher's ultimate, satellite beam, crashing down in a grand arc. The beam struck the ground, and the resulting blast of wind whipped at the gear of everyone nearby.
Those caught directly in the beam's path naturally ate the full force of the ultimate, and their HP didn't drop lightly either.
Chen Guo, still not satisfied, continued to manipulate the several smaller rays that would branch off from the ultimate move. The players dared not slack off, scrambling in every direction, a complete mess. Chen Guo, who had been completely ignored, finally felt a smug sense of satisfaction. Then he heard Yi Shu say, "Still playing? Better run."
Still playing around? Run.
Chen Guo could still milk her ultimate for a bit longer, but with it raining down on their heads, the three major guilds were hardly oblivious. A storm of attacks was already hurtling toward her. Yi Shu's warning was more of a formality at this point. Given Chen Guo's skill level, this situation was really just a lamb walking into a pack of wolves. Chasing haze barely made it 2 steps before a storm of skills engulfed her, dropping her on the spot.
You really went and got yourself killed just for a moment of fun.
I want to.
Chen Guo kept up the tough talk, but the first thing she did was open her inventory. Experience and coins would drop. That was 100% certain, no question. The real concern was the equipment.
Damn it.
When she checked, Chen Guo couldn't help but curse. 2 items had dropped from her equipment bar, and her hands were empty. She'd actually lost her weapon. Weapons were what players valued most. Whenever anyone had money to invest in gear, their first choice was almost always the weapon. But when it came to dropping equipment, the system was surprisingly fair. Weapons and belts had the exact same drop rate. Chen Guo managed to drop 2 items, and wouldn't you know it, the weapon was one of them. Talk about rotten luck. Yi Shu shook his head from the sidelines.
Who cares? I'll enjoy it first and worry later.
Chen Guo took one look at Ye Shu's expression and kept up her tough talk, but this time it was really just talk. That satellite beam of hers was pure impulse, with zero thought for the consequences. In the end, she didn't kill a single person. Instead, she got knocked down herself. And that wasn't even the worst part. Now she'd even dropped her level 70 purple tier rose heavy cannon. Chen Guo really felt like crying right now too.
Don't cry, don't cry. Out with the old, in with the new.
And yet Yi Shu still sounded so confident.
Who was crying?
Chen Guo kept up her tough talk, but her actions had already given her away completely. At that moment, Chen Guo was so lost in her sorrow that she forgot to even revive. She just stood there, staring blankly at her fallen corpse, while the items she had dropped were already picked up by someone unknown.
The rose cannon. It's just...
Yi Shu was about to analyze the equipment's value to lift Chen Guo's spirits. But when he turned and saw how utterly dejected Chen Guo looked, he immediately fell silent. From his perspective as a pro player, the rose cannon was nothing special. But for an ordinary player, any level 70 purple weapon was hard-earned. Purple tier and above equipment has a naturally low drop rate, and since level 70 is the max level, there's very little hand-me-down gear in circulation. That means even blue tier level 70 equipment commands a solid price on the market. For a core member of a major guild, a single piece of purple gear might not be that hard to come by. But that's only because they have the resource advantage of the guild behind them. Who knows how many teams fought in how many battles just to get that one drop. For the average player, though, this was a grueling ordeal. They had to keep grinding the dungeons they needed, and even if they did get a drop, there was no guarantee it would land in their own pockets. Alternatively, they could just buy it off the market. But if it's this hard to get, how could the market price be low? So for Chen Guo, throwing in a bit of real money to get some purple gear wouldn't have been all that hard. But Yi Shu had known Chen Guo for 2 months now. He knew that Boss Chen took her gaming very seriously. She never invested real money into it. For a player like that, losing a purple weapon really did sting. Painful as it was, there was nothing to be done. Heavenly Domain had a rule that set it apart from the ordinary zones. Equipment there couldn't be bound. If Heavenly Domain gear could be bound, everyone would just bind their best items without a care in the world. Where would the scavenging industry even come from? As for the gear you could scrounge up in the regular zones, sure, you could bind that. But in the Heavenly Domain, all of it was bottom-tier junk, good for nothing but breaking down into materials. Even a scavenger would curse their luck finding it.